Future State, Dark Detective, Issue 1, Mariko Tamaki and Matthew Rosenberg are the two writers for the first and second story, with Dan Mora on the first story for art, Carmine Di Domenico on art for the second. I will also mention here that for a lot of these credits going forward, I've left off a lot of the artists, because once we start having like 5 artists in a book, I'm not listing them all. It's not happening. We'll talk about them as we're looking through the book. So yeah, Dark Detective, so this is the other Batman. This is kind of the Detective Comics Batman book for Future State. And, I like Tamaki, I like Mora, and the first thing I'll say about this is, once again, we have stunning art on the main Bat story here. Mm. This was beautiful stuff.
I think it's Belair on the colours, and they pop. Like I think the second page of this, where we stood by the chain fence, there's all the lights from the sea.
Well, I mean,
great stuff.
Obviously it's hinted at the start there, but once you get later in the story and he's actually grappling around all of the Times Square-esque, obviously it's not Times Square, but the Times Square-esque like neon billboards and stuff, it's gorgeous stuff.
Yeah, it's very cyberpunk.
Yeah, like in the diner with all the lights and holograms and stuff.
Yep.
The magistrate have hunted down Bruce, and they announced the death of Batman. This is kind of what we hear, is that the city thinks Batman is dead and that Bruce Wayne died a couple of days later. And it's kind of Bruce being down and out, and we get the sort of the short teases of like when he sort of went to get the bullet wounds taken care of by a doctor, a black market kind of doctor, and there's even like a line here where he says, how does it go again? Live long enough to die a hero, or no, die a hero or live long enough to become vigilante number one. Was the way he phrased it.
What I do like about this book too is how they're parsing out between this and the next Batman, and then even with Robin Eternal later, how just what exactly is going on in Gotham. Like, we don't have the full story, but we're getting enough to know, like...
Yeah, we know that the magistrate's taken over. There's like a fascist state kind of running Gotham. We don't know quite how it all happened or what exactly.
It happened. Right, and we know that they've weaponized, certain people that are all masked. So, like, the cops can wear masks, but who we think of the heroes aren't allowed to wear masks. It's very kind of Watchmen, the TV series-esque. I was getting vibes from. There's kind of some story stuff crossed over with that, which I think is interesting. But I feel like who's ever editing the Bat books is doing a real good job at it. They're all vibing along the same lines.
This took a major editorial effort. I mean, Future State across the board, but individual families like Gotham especially.
I think the Bat books definitely feel the most connected, I think, out of all of them, just in terms of the world, because like there's a couple of references in some of the other books or like things, and obviously Yara is like a connective tissue between like all the books she's in, but this is the one where it feels like the city's like status quo is like gradually being kind of told through all of them in little snippets.
I think it's interesting because they're set at like different time periods as well. They're not all like concurrent.
No, but they're all like, again, they're parsing it out just enough, and if you're reading them all, you're getting the full story. But if not, you're still getting enough of a story that it doesn't matter. But it's just the little tiny things, and I really appreciate that in something like this.
I think the story here flows very well. I think Tamaki's writing's always been very well paced. You have a lot of the narration from Batman, a lot of great big action. The big splash page where he rips off his casual civvy suit, and he has like sort of bat armor underneath. But it's a bit more. It's less slick and high tech. It's a bit more just armor with a bat like painted on it. It's a bit more lo-fi, and we have him like again in these. I mean that full page where he's jumping down from the top of the building, and it's like a low angle shot looking up, and it's just all the neon lights of all the different buildings around him, the blues, the reds, the greens, the yellows, and he even hits a billboard because he fires his grapple gun and like slams into something. And even the way the art has all these lines come out from the billboard, it gives you this impression of like a digital like distortion on impact. And it's not even a realistic thing from the sense of like it wouldn't be coming out of the screen. I guess maybe if it's like a hologram style thing, maybe it would, but the idea is that it gives you a feeling of like the sort of the impact that his body on that billboard has to the image on the billboard.
Right.
Yeah. Matt, your mic's going.
Yeah, mic's going, Matt.
Yeah.
No,
the art is particularly great. I'm really glad as well that just slightly related that they confirmed Dan Mora will still be doing Once and Future. They'll just be taking a longer break between arcs so we can do presumably just an arc of detective, and then he'll do Once a Future and alternate between them. I think is the plan.
So I need to get reading Once in Future because I know
you would love it.
Yeah, it's come highly recommended. But I knew Dan Moore from Klaus, the
Grant Morrison stuff. Yeah, that's also great.
Santa book, and it's really really good. So to see him doing Batman and it fits like it's completely different from that fantasy where I kind of know him from, right? Like Once in Future and then Klaus, and here he's doing like future neon. Like I get it.
You can correct me wrong. He was on the Buffy book for a while as well.
He did at least the first arc, maybe the first 2 arcs.
Okay.
Right. So again, but that fits more in that fantasy side of things that we're kind of linking him with. This is very different.
To see here, and it looks just as good as what I've seen from him before. Like that's how I think. To me, that's a sign of a fantastic artist that their style just works in.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and this is a lot dirtier than because going from the Buffy book, which was very notable because one of the things that he did very well in that book, which is not something that most books have to concern themselves with, but with that one, it perhaps did because it's a book based on a show, is that he had some really magical moments where he would capture the likeness of the actors so well in moments that it was kind of eerie, like how much Buffy looked like Sarah Michelle Gellar and the way she would smirk or something like that. Obviously, with this book and other books that he's done, in most comics, that's not an issue. You're not trying to match like a real person.
It just has to be recognizably Bruce Wayne in this instance. Sure, that's close enough.
But it's almost aggressively Batman, like that where he rips off his regular clothes and he's wearing the bat suit underneath. It looks almost like Jim Lee Batman, but it's not. Like it's just the way that it is. It's very very Batman, and it fits. So.
And it gives you this idea of that rise of the black market, because the woman in the diner that he talks to briefly, when he's got enough credits to his name to buy a cup of coffee because he's got no money anymore.
The real question is though, do you Jim Bro?
Of course you like that.
I don't know, just this hologram being like, "Hey, you Jim Bro."
I will say this has made me. I mean, I was already excited for Detective. I already felt I was always already comfortable with both creators, but this has just made me more excited for
it. As someone that was like, I don't want to buy another Batman book, I'm kind of like, I'd rather get this one than I'd rather read the Tamaki Mora one than the Tynan one, to be honest. So
I mean, I'm probably more excited for Detective now than I am Batman. I still want to read Batman, but
me too.
So no, this was really enjoyable. And honestly, the only thing going against this issue is that Nick's Batman's main story last week was so goddamn good that this is still kind of the secondary one, but it's really good though.
Yeah.
Like it's just, and I do like that it feels different. The whole like the neon, even though it's technically the same city, it really focuses on the cyberpunk visuals of this one. Really makes it stick out.
I think the only thing going against this one, in comparison to the other one, is there's less of a story so far. It's the mystery, just the world. It's like what's going on. It's thrown us in, and that's very intentional.
It's a lot simpler. It's Batman's been taken down, and now he's the underdog again, right? And he has to try and fight back and take on the magistrate. And
probably we haven't actually seen him start fighting back yet.
Yeah, and probably fail, I imagine, assuming the next Batman's set later.
Right.
Yeah, probably is. I know they released an official timeline. Beforehand.
You'd probably go check that, I suppose. But so that was the main story. The second story, which is the Grifter story, which I have no real familiarity. Grifter is a character who I only heard of when the New 52 was announced. It was like, hey, Grifter's got a book. Oh, who? Whatever.
To me, I don't know who, like, for Grifter as the most 90s hero, it's a toss-up between Grifter, Lobo, and Cable.
Sure.
Like their names ring up. And I like Rosenberg from what I've read.
Oh yeah, just to make this clear, Matthew Rosenberg's writing this story,
right?
And I have liked his work on a couple of Marvel minis that I've read from. So this was the sort of thing where I might have been really unenthusiastic about reading this story, but I saw his name and then obviously DG Domenico on the art.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a fair shot, and we'll see how it is.
Without this creative team, I probably just would have skipped this and just read the first story. But that said, it's still kind of not my jam. Like I don't know. Grifter's not my kind of character, but the story reads well enough and the art's good enough, Yeah. But yeah, I don't. I felt weird about this one.
It's okay. It was. I mean, the first narration box. This isn't as bad as it looks. It feels like okay, we're doing a Hawkeye kind of reference, as I like to set you up as the tone and the mood of what to expect. But it's not as good as that comic.
Right.
Oh, it's definitely not as good as that. I thought it was all right though. Like I genuinely liked this more than some of the other Future State books this week. So,
by the way, are we not rating these individually this week?
We can, but I forgot to do it at the time, so we'll do both at the end. So,
but no, I do like in the story too. Like it continues that sense of what Gotham is now. Like that's still going because you have Luke Fox being brought in at the same time as Cole Cash, and now they know each other from that story. And what was it, Detective? Was that 1027? Or that?
I think that was in Batman, wasn't it?
Or was it Batman? It wasn't Batman, wasn't it? How many times?
Yeah, I think it was Batman.
Right.
Yeah, because Fox brought in Grifter as a bodyguard.
Yeah,
I think
because of everything that happened.
Because this has a lot more story in the first one, actually. The first story in this book, I mean. This has a lot going on because we have the whole idea that he's got an alias, but then he's found out. So he's arrested. He ends up in the same van as Luke Fox, who's also been arrested for his history as Batwing. And they end up being sort of like lumped together because Grifter makes this daring escape, and it ends up with them going to was it the Queen of Clubs they're referring to, who it turns out to be Huntress, but they're looking for the Queen of Clubs. And they end up turning into they run into a Black Mask gang, and there's a lot of action, there's a lot of quippiness, there's a lot of one-liners from Grifter. He's kind of it's almost like a Han Solo-esque character, but set in like a present-day city kind of vibe that they're going for with him. He's a
scoundrel.
Because I can see the Hawkeye reference, but I do think the character's a bit more Star-Lord, Han Solo-esque in terms of his attitude. Which is fine. I mean, it's one of those things where I think the art's pretty good. I think Williams is a good writer, so I actually thought it was really easy to read. So, sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, you said Williamson.
I said Williamson. Sorry, but Rosenberg's a good writer, so I think it's I'm down to read part 2 of this because I'm going to be reading the next Dark Detective anyway. Also, I'll read the rest of this.
Yeah,
it was a decent enough time.
It's fine. I just I
don't think it's sold me on Grifter as a thing I want. But that said, though. If this backup's going to continue as a backup in whatever book it was popping up in,
it's in the anthology one.
In the anthology one, I'll keep reading it there. If it's part of that anthology, I'll keep reading it. I'm happy enough to do that.
Yeah, I will as well. It's not got me hooked yet, but it's solid enough. I mean, maybe this could grow on me.
I could see Rosenberg making me care about Grifter by the time he's done like a full story. But obviously, this is one issue. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, yes, Yara Flor, that was achieved in one issue, but not everyone can be that good.
No,
that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So, it is what it is. I not bad though, because I was kind of I got to the first page, I kind of rolled my eyes. I was like, oh, I like the names actually, so maybe it'll be okay. But I kind of was hesitant for a minute, but I'm like, oh, do I really care about reading a Grifter backup? But it was okay. I'm not like over the moon, but it's okay. Yeah. Perfectly fine. All right, so we'll rate them individually first. So Matt, what are you giving the?
So Dark Detective, I'm going to give an 8.
Sure.
And then Grifters, I'm going to give a 7.
Okay. Individual ratings, Connor?
Just for that, I did check that timeline real quickly. DC are being weird. Every Batman story, or every Gotham story, is set in 2025, with the exception of Dark Detective. Like, even Grifter is set in 2025. Dark Detective is set in 2027. The next Batman is the only thing out of the entire Future State thing that they did not put a date on. They intentionally left it off the timeline.
Ah, well, so it's going to be a surprise when it's set then.
Yeah. As for my ratings, I think I'll give the first one an 8.5 and the second one a 6.5.
I'll go the first one 8.5, second one a 7. But we should probably rate the book overall as well, since that's how we're going to rank it later. So Matt, what's your overall rating for Dark Detective?
Man, I really like that first story. So I guess I'll give it a 7.5. I guess that just cuts the middle.
Car?
Yeah, that's my plan as well. Cut the middle, 7.5.
Yeah, I'll go an 8. It's between 7 and 8.5. I'll lean higher because I really like the first one, and that's more important to me than the backup, which was still pretty good. It didn't ruin my mood, which sometimes a backup can ruin my mood.